Welcome to another episode of The Dark Side of the Kitchen. It has been a minute since I have done one of these, and I decided to take a break from a lot of stuff. But this one is the recipe war. Who really owns a plate? And I expect that there will be some kickbacks on this and people agreeing and disagreeing with me on it. Because it's an interesting one. And it comes from towards the end of last year, a chef in France actually patented a dish that he created. And I have no doubt some people will comment, change an ingredient and it's a new dish, etc., etc. He patented the dish, the name of the dish, the method, and the ingredients used. So even if you were to change an ingredient, you can't use the method. And it opens it up to a whole other conversation. And that's where I'm coming from this side of it. So when a dish debuts on the pass, the opening night of it, every chef has a dish they call theirs. Not because they own it on paper, but because it cost them something. Burned hand, room service, a sleepless night, moment of brilliance at 2 a.m. when everybody else was sound asleep. But in the restaurant world, that dish, that idea, that place that feels part of your soul might not belong to you at all. So today we're going to bring into the war that nobody trains you for in culinary school. Who owns a recipe? Chef who creates it, or a restaurant that sells it? This is the recipe war. There are recipes out there that nobody knows the exact recipe for because it's been protected by the restaurant that serves it for so long or for a period of time. So there's versions of it available. So Café de Paris, there's a million versions online, none of them are right. Oysters Rockefeller, there's a whole story behind it. It's an interesting story. There was a program done about it a long time ago. We'll probably get it on YouTube someplace. There was one about a lobster dish where a head chef left the restaurant, went to a neighboring restaurant using the same dish that restaurant was famous for, and they sued him. That the dish wasn't his, it was theirs. And then and this has happened tons and tons of times down throughout history, where the argument comes up of who owns the dish, and it's always fallen that the restaurant owns the dish, not the chef. So for a chef to turn around now and take a patent out on a dish, it's big. And for some people, they might say, oh, what difference does it make? It's a dish. Think the world's most famous salad, Caesar salad. Think if nobody else can make it in the world except the place that invented it. Now, every version you get of Caesar salad is wrong. It's completely different. Everybody does their own version of it. And you could turn around and go, well, it's different from the original. And it is. They all call it Caesar salad. And it is based on that dish. Now, in the original Caesar salad, there is no spring onions. There's no tomato. There's no chicken. There's no the list of other stuff that you find in it. Again, if you were to Google the original Caesar salad, there's beautiful videos of it being made tableside in the restaurant that was invented, and there's a great story behind it. What happens if nobody could ever make it? It wouldn't have become the world's most famous salad or soul salad, not by a country mile, and a lot of people do it really, really badly as well. So, but anyway, I digress. So, the unwritten rule of the brigade, in most kitchens, there's one belief. What you cook here stays here. And I've heard this, and we've all heard this in loads of places. People can be overprotective of their recipes. 9 times out of 10, you're wasting your time being protective. Nobody wants it. Not because it's a law, but it's the culture. And that's important. Culture in kitchens is it stays within that building even if you leave. You learn the dishes, you refine them, you build them within the team. And then one day you leave. And then the question is, can I take this dish with me? Or does it belong to the house? I know chefs who they've left the job and they brought the whole notebook with them. There's notebooks in kitchens with the recipes written in them. Back to my last job, I had an entire folder done of recipes. But they were in-house recipes. They were specifically for there. I guarantee they still don't use them, and that's whatever 6 months later. But I did leave it there. But I know a chef that took the house book, and the following morning he got a solicitor's letter saying the recipes in the notebook were the company property. But it was his notebook. And he had 10 years worth of his life put into it, but the place was saying it was theirs. That letter wasn't a threat, it was the truth. And in many countries, including Ireland, anything created in the course of your employment can be claimed by the employer. But that's where the madness starts. Because recipes aren't code, and a dish isn't a patent. And cooking is more art than blueprint. So how do you legally own food? This is American. It happened. An American pastry chef got sued for a cookie. For real. Pastry chef left a high-end New York restaurant and opened her own place, her flagship. A cookie she spent years perfecting. And the restaurant sued, saying it was company property. Court's answer: can't copyright a list of ingredients, because you can't. But you can protect the method, the plating, the brand, the product look, and the name. Now she got to keep her cookie recipe, but she had to change the look, the name, and the technique. It is no longer the same. Whatever about the name, the rest of it, it's no longer the same. And before doing this, I did some research into these. There was a French chef, and he got fired for stealing his own dish. 2 Michelin star chef created a signature lobster dish. Restaurant sells it for years. He leaves to open his own place, puts the same dish on his menu, his dish on his menu. Lawyer showed up the following day because in France, under certain contracts, creative output during employment belongs to the house. You have to remove it from the menu. Imagine being told you can't cook your own creation because the words matter. Creative output during employment belongs to the house. Whereas I previously said, within Ireland, it's written differently. But in the States, you can't copyright ingredients. The wording matters where you are. But how much time, effort, thought, long sleepless nights did he put into that dish to create a dish at 2 Michelin star level that he then had to remove it from his own restaurant? Now, in every sense of the word, we would all think, what's his dish? But the wording is creative output during employment belongs to the house. Created in the place, it belongs to the place. Now, whether he goes off and redefines the dish and recreates the dish and comes up with a very close and approximate version of it is a whole other story. The story is he has to change it. It's not his dish anymore. Yet without him, that dish would never have come to light, would never have been. And you can pick any famous dish you want anywhere in the world. If you take away the chef who created it, without him, it would never have happened. It was, we'll go back to Caesar salad. It was a time, a place, and a set of circumstances that created that dish. But it had to be the right person there to take it to the next level. It had to be the person that actually created it, to be in those set of circumstances to create it, because the reason it was created is different. And then you have dishes like this 2 Michelin star French chef who refined and designed and refined and designed and worked on and redesigned a dish over a period of time. Countless hours. But it's not his dish. Not every chef will sign them. In fact, very few will, but there are NDAs in modern gastronomy. Many of the top restaurants use NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. And that is to prevent chefs from taking recipes, prep methods, spreadsheets of mise en place out. A lot of them do it. Some of the hotel chains are doing it. But definitely, we're talking top class restaurants are doing it en masse now. Some of them include no taking photos during prep, no copying the method, no recreating signature elements within 5 years, no opening a competing business within a certain distance. I've had that myself multiple times. So they're basically saying you leave, but your creativity stays. So you might add to how their prep is done, how the dish is assembled, how their methods evolve. But when you leave it all behind. And they're totally legal, by the way. Before somebody goes, you wouldn't sign it. If you don't sign it, you don't get the job there. It's that simple. And they're protecting themselves. You have to remember that from the other side. They are protecting how they do it. Ireland, the reality, does it happen here? We don't have the same volume of public lawsuits as the US or France. But behind closed doors, it's happening more than you know. 4 days I actually spoke to a few people that I had an inkling on. So let's call Bryce. Chef Bryce. He created a dish. Everyone knew it by name. When he left, the owner told the new chef to keep it on the menu. Customers asked who had taught him. He said he invented it. What was his comeback? Another chef I spoke to said a very simple thing. We're not protected at all. If it's on the menu, they claim it. It's the restaurant's. End of story. No point in taking it further. You can argue your points on it, but this is the reality of some chefs that it has happened to. These are really good ones, you know. Your average Joe Soap chef doesn't invent a dish or a method or a thing of that anybody's interested in. I'll include me in that, by the way. Very few chefs will. Very few chefs are at that level. And then some people get lucky. Simple as that. Chefs in Ireland, they don't sue. Not because they're wrong, but because the industry is small and your reputation as currency. Sue a restaurant, that's to look at the job, and another one shortage of chefs and all as there is. It is that simple. And it happens or it doesn't happen, as in suing for more than a single reason, but owners of restaurants and hotels would claim if you created it in there, it belongs there. Chefs would say no, without the chef, it doesn't exist. So you have two opposing views. So you can put a lot of work into something that wasn't originally maybe even yours, but you redefined it, made it very popular, and there are restaurants where people will go for a very particular dish or a very particular item that has become very famous in it. That's because of a refined chef who spent time, his intellectual, emotional time and physical energy to recreate something that became, I suppose, viral is the word we'd use today, but it's not his in the end. Nobody will sue for it because of that. Because the outcome afterwards is it's too small of a country with too small of an industry. So yeah, it's never going to happen. It's an emotional war. Ownership of a soul. It's not law. This is where it gets darker because chefs don't create dishes from money. No chef ever sat down to design a dish or to redesign a dish or perfect a dish, or not perfect dishes, but nobody ever sat down when they're going to try to design a dish that will go viral and make me tons of money. We end up, chefs end up with their own unique style. So then the dishes evolve into that style, and then for one dish or two dishes, it will suit your style so well, and it will become almost part of you. So you've created them for meaning. They're a part of your journey, a part of your soul. That dish represents, from your mentor, hours of trial and error, identity, pride, your voice on a plate. So when a restaurant claims the dish, it doesn't feel like business, it feels like theft. They stole a part of you. That's how it feels. You could say that nobody stole nothing. That's your identity. They were your hours, your pride, your blood, sweat, and tears. One of the same chefs said to me, they took my dish, my idea, my story, and acted like I was never there. They broke me more than any 90-hour week ever did. So he felt like they didn't just take his idea. They took his story. And a chef's life is his story is a bunch of dishes. You know, it's our whole career is just a story of a bunch of dishes. From the very start. The dishes you loved doing, the dishes that people loved you cooking, the ones you spent hours working on, the ones that never saw the light of day because you never thought they were good enough. So to be in that position, as this gentleman was, to create a dish that was highly popular and people went to the restaurant for, and then when he left for the restaurant just to clean, it was never your idea. You were nothing to do with it. Losing the recipe is like losing a part of yourself, you know? Now, you have the other side of it. when chefs take recipes too, because it happens the other way around. Let's be fair about it. It's on a one-way street here. People copy signature dishes. Lots of places have a signature dish that's truly is belong to the place at this stage. It might have been a chef that created it at the start, but over time, it stayed there and evolved, and every chef added or did a little something to it, and it truly became unique to their, and not to any one chef. So then you do have people who copy them signature dishes down the road, and they may never have worked there. They're just copying it. They went in, they edit, and they're trying to recreate it from that. Or maybe they did work there and they took the recipe with them, and down the road they're trying to recreate it. Chefs photograph mise en place setups and how things are laid out for a dish. A lot of more modern places would use a lot of computers and tablets, and I have seen somebody put in a USB and download off of people go work in restaurants for very short spaces of time, a week, 2 weeks, just to take a recipe out of their place. Some do it knowingly, some do it subconsciously, but it does happen. But are you stealing from the place or the chef? One guy I know very well told me he had a chef take his menu and open across the road the exact same menu. Exact same. And I've seen that happen more recently. And I was involved in the situation, not me personally, but I was involved in the whole situation where the menu was a carbon copy. So the reason I said the recipe war was it goes both ways. Chefs, and I've seen this and I've commented on this before, you can go eat in one bar and go down the road to another bar, and if you took the heading off the top of the menu, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. They're the same. So some chefs steal, some owners steal, and most of the time no one wins. And this goes back to being if you have a food premises, being unique and standing out, but then you need the chef, and if he leaves, what happens? And therein creates the problem. Is there a way around that? Yeah, but it takes short, medium, and long-term thinking to set a plan in place for succession, so that when your head chef leaves for whatever reason, then you got to get down to why you keep needing head chefs. Can't always be the head chef that's wrong. That you put succession in place, that the next guy's being trained up, and so on. And it's what you have. Nobody goes to the likes of McDonald's because they make a great burger. And if you think they make a great burger, I pity you. You go because they make it consistent. It's always the same. They're consistently, in my mind, poor, but whatever. But anybody who says they go to McDonald's because they make a great burger does not know what a great burger is. But then if you go to a place that makes a great burger, they can get it wrong just as often. Well, not just as often, they can get it wrong because they've got a great grill guy who's off on the night you go, and the other guy's not as good. So who actually owns a recipe? Legally, most countries say ingredients cannot be copyrighted. Methods usually cannot be protected. Photos, names, and brands absolutely can be. Trade secrets can be, if protected internally. So it's the whole Coke thing. Any scientist could take a bottle of Coke and figure out exactly what's in it, and the and recreate it exactly. But it's internally protected. So to do so you would be sued to high heaven. And they would win for enormous sums of money. And that's the same for Pepsi. That's the same for, because it is internally protected. Therefore, should you go and do it, you will lose massively. Ethically, depends who created it, who refined it, who presented it, who sold it, who's lying about it. Emotionally, everybody knows the truth, even if nobody will say it out loud. When dishes become ghosts, every chef has a dish they left behind. You see it on a menu years later, changed slightly, renamed, altered, but you know it's yours. It's like seeing your handwriting in somebody else's notebook. And that's the real cost of the recipe war. Not legal letters, not NDAs, not the money. It's looking at a plate you created with your soul and realizing somebody else is taking credit for it. In this industry, we don't always get to keep what we create, but we get to carry the truth with us. No one can trademark passion. No one can copyright pain. And no one can steal your journey. The final monologue, the truth on the pass. A recipe isn't a list of ingredients. It was the life that was lived to create it. Maybe the restaurant owns the menu. Maybe the law owns the paperwork. And maybe the owner owns the name, the flavors, the memories, the scars, the nights you nearly broke trying to perfect it. Those belong to the chef and always will. Always will. The recipe war will never end. But the truth is simple. The plate might belong to the restaurant, but the story belongs to the chef. Until next time, let's keep changing the world one plate at a time.